Thank you, Holly and Raven, for inviting me to join this illustrious company today. Thank you all for indulging me for a moment of reminiscence. Mission moments, those unpredictable times when we get it, when we recognize that somehow we personally have a role, a responsibility, and the ability to positively contribute to our humanitarian mission. Sometimes only understood in retrospect, but often clear right then, in that instant, in that moment. When the American Red Cross of Saratoga Springs, New York, came to my high school for a blood drive for the first time in 1976, I didn't hesitate or have second thoughts. My father had died 2 years before. His many surgeries required blood. I felt a debt that I still feel to the generosity of strangers who had donated blood so it was there for him when he needed it. And I had, as a 15-year-old, no way I could possibly repay that debt. 2 years later, I had the opportunity to pay it forward in kind, and I did so. I hoped I would qualify as a donor and that I would not have a reaction, the common fear. I didn't, and I knew in that moment that I could be personally effective as a humanitarian by continuing to donate. I have. Yesterday was my 505th blood donation. What I only recognized in retrospect, years later, is that I started my additional Red Cross service a split second later, as I, a nerd, was just fine walking toward the canteen, but next to me, a football player's eyes rolled up in his head, and his knees went loose and started to head for the floor. I caught his shoulders and head and eased him down, and one of the RNs who came running up to assist at the time said, "We need volunteers like you." I was flattered, disbelieving, and dismissive. I was 17. I was going to be a NASA scientist. I was a nerd. Thank you very much. I'm not that guy. Okay? As a student at MIT, I donated at, then volunteered at, and finally ended up becoming the student sponsor of the blood drives that happen at MIT. They run 5 times a year, and in September and March, at that time, there were drives that collected 2,000 units. They ran 10 days, 200 units a day. And I was, as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, I was the one who put all that together. So, my advisor at one point said to me, "You clearly love this more than your actual classes. And you seem to be good at it. Maybe you should consider doing what you love." Well, that seems clearer now, but more than 40 years later, I've had a career in science, and yes, for NASA. I've been a rocket scientist. There are satellites that I assisted with that are passing overhead right about now, gathering Earth science data, not looking at license plates. All this time, I continued to donate myself and to organize community drives. I served in disaster services until my daughter was born, and life got really complicated. My spouse became a cancer survivor in 1983, the first time. She became a 2-time survivor in 2001, and is now a 4-time survivor. Many in my extended family, friends, so many people I've heard about millions of people I'll never know are struggling to achieve that deceptively simple label, survivor. As a triple unit platelet donor, my 505 donations have provided 1,127 therapeutic units, principally for cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. How can I not do all that I can to help? For almost 4 years now, as I've had more time and attention available to devote to Red Cross service, I have helped create a new role, which is the Blood Services Volunteer Engagement League, first for Massachusetts, then for the rest of the New England states, and now it's in process, but it looks like it's going to happen, that I'll actually be doing it for the entire Northeast United States. You, as community volunteer leads, may want to talk to peers, volunteers in leadership roles in all the lines of service, to gain insights and perspectives to share about how we fulfill our shared mission. I will welcome your thoughts on how we all may better serve. Thank you for your time. And in the time frame given, we even have time for questions.
Well, first of all, wow. I mean, that's just, thank you so much for sharing such an incredibly personal story. And I think there's so many people who truly are indebted to you, thanks to your generous donations over the years. Like 505 donations, that's absolutely just remarkable. So,
But it's us. I can't do it alone. It's us.
I know, but thank you. You're really really special. So, are there any questions for John?
Not really a question.
Well, Dave
Or
has hand up first.
Well, we were chatting a little earlier, and I was sharing with John my frustration. Years back, I did some blood drives with the Knights of Columbus, and just the frustration of attracting people, getting them signed up, just the logistics of having a successful drive, meaning making the numbers to make it worthwhile to have Red Cross staff there, you know. And some of these smaller drives where you were lucky if you got 25 pints of blood. So speak a little bit of the logistics of, you know, how that works.
Accepting no. 95 out of 100 times, and if you're talking about somebody being a donor, or probably in recruiting volunteers, or in any group that you talk to, people have completely legitimate reasons for saying no. And you know, you understand, you're sympathetic, but you know, once no's no, move on to someone else. Because we don't need everybody. We need the people who want to do the work, who can do the work, and will do the work. So it's needed work. We need people to do it. A lot of people are going to say no, and you just gotta, okay, there's another one. You know, I'm moving on to my 5 out of 100, so there's another one down.
And we'll talk, and just to add a little bit, you know, we are kind of going through a transition here in Massachusetts, so we're going to only be collecting blood at community blood drives in the eastern part of the state as of early November. So we'll be talking a little bit more this afternoon. There'll be someone from Blood Services here who will talk about kind of what you can be doing, both in the parts of the state where we're just going to have fixed donation centers in Worcester and Springfield, and then the eastern part of the state where we're going to continue to have community blood drives. Because you can play a role in both, depending on kind of where you sit, you know, within the state. So, you know, but helping kind of bring people into donate or sponsor blood drives is really important, and kind of understanding that piece of work that we do, which is so life-saving and such a core part of what the Red Cross does kind of across the country. I think is just really important, and I think John speaks to it so eloquently.
Rob and Kathy.
I was just going to mention, when I try to recruit blood donors, it seems the biggest objection I get is I don't like to get stuck with a needle. I said, absolutely. I said, if somebody comes to us and says they want to get stuck behind the wheel, we probably should think twice about it. And
I
that's
offer
when-
to hold their hand.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah,
Well,
okay.
I'm scared too,
Yeah,
but I've been
yeah.
stuck 1,000 times at this point.
Yeah. I then would talk about how much good it could do, and they take your donation, get into broken up into pieces, and but yeah, that's the biggest objection I hear about.
And you will,
Yeah.
and you will, but it's a reasonable fee, right?
Yeah.
Concern is reasonable, questions are reasonable. A first timer doesn't know. Somebody who wants to talk about that, go ahead and be candid, all right? My candor includes the fact that I'm afraid, I look away. The staff all at the Boston Donor Center, I'm a big baby, all right? They know, I'll tell them everything about what I'm not happy about, all right? But I come anyway. Okay.
Well, in response to your comment, I think, is that many of us are from small communities, and in a small community, and you have the community blood drives, they are small. I mean,
Yes, they are.
so at least, you still have to have them. I mean, it's, even if you're getting only 25, it's, people are looking at, I want to give, but yet, if you're in a location where there's a community of 20,000 people, you're not going to get a significant amount of people at those drives.
So that's an evolving conversation, especially in Western Mass. But part of the response has to be about understanding the larger picture. Everybody only donates 1 pint, or 3 units of platelets, or double reds, or whatever it is they donate.
Right.
They're only one person. But the whole supply is made up of those individuals.
Right.
So if someone is used to going to a bus that comes to the church that's a mile from their house, but now they have to go 25 miles to a donor center in order to be a regular donor, don't they do 25 miles to go to the big box stores or whatever else? I mean,
And that's the challenge, is how do you
Right.
get them there?
Well, but to understand, this is an important thing. This is something you schedule, something you do on a schedule. You have to think ahead about it. You have to prepare for it, eat well, sleep well, all the good things about self-care. So, okay, it's 25 miles now, and instead of you're 1 mile away. Sorry, the economics of doing business means that a 10-person yield on a blood drive means we can't do that anymore. But
There's another thing for volunteers, to drive those people now to the center.
Having done insurance, you don't want to do that.
well,
Yeah.
So thank you. I know there are more questions, and I didn't.
I'm here all day.
to talk